Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. This is going to be a shorter video, and today I want to talk to you about card prices and card price trends, with a possible fundamental consideration being that when we ban bots, if we ban bots, there can be strong ramifications for the price point of the cards that we own in this game. And I think this could be one of the unintended consequences in the short term for our amazing blockchain-based video game. If you're new to Splinterlands or my channel, my name is Dwayne Cunningham. I go by Infidel1258. You can call me 12. If you leave a comment below and it turns into a video, I will give you a raffle ticket that might earn you a free plot of land. So, I had somebody recently in Discord reach out to me and kind of prompted this conversation. Come on, 777. And he goes, "Hey Dwayne, since you're the man covering the bot conversation the most, I guess I should be talking to you. I'm against the proposal because it has a high risk to it. If you ban all the bots, you can only ban them from the modern, but not from the game altogether. What am I and several other people going to do with their alt accounts? Now I guess I'm going to dump everything on the market. I hope everyone is prepared to see everything go to zero if bots are banned from the game, also in wild." So he's saying, like, if it's in wild, also that's going to be a real problem for the pricing. I get that most players that watch videos would like to continue playing in wild and want to see the bots be gone there as well. But the card supply is massive, and even though it's not really clear if there are too many cards or not right now, it sure looks like there are too many. And with the amount of botted accounts and the supply of cards, it will be so extreme that the whole economy goes to. Because obviously all those cards that are on the bot accounts will just land on the market if bots are not allowed, if they aren't allowed anymore. What we're experiencing right now on the market will feel like a hiccup compared to what will happen if bots are banned from the game altogether. So if you're interested, let's chat. And I didn't actually speak with him, but I thought this was a worthwhile conversation. And I've been tracking my own price point on my assets. Use peak monsters, and I go over to the filters and I check out owned, and you can see, and I think this is wise. So here's the thing, I think he's onto something, and I'm not saying he's entirely right, and I have pushback to give, but I think he's probably, he's pointing at a real possible serious unintended consequence. And again, does that mean I'm against the anti-bot measures? It doesn't. I am for the anti-bot measures. I voted yes on my 2 accounts with all of my SPS. But the thing is, he might be right. So let's talk about it. First and foremost, you need to track your card prices. If you have an account worth anything significant, or you have multiple accounts, you need to track it. And I'm realizing for the first time that I need to start tracking it. So I've always understood my total value, which is down, by the way. My total value is down from about 60 to 53 in the last, I don't know, 2-3 months. So it went down to as low as, I want to say 30, and it bounced to 60, and now it's trickling down. Question is it going much lower? Who knows, right? You know my opinion. I'm bullish long term. I think these assets they are deflationary in nature, and as we consolidate, they will appreciate across a long enough time horizon. I'm so confident about that. I am personally betting what some would call a fortune on that. I believe that to be true, and I am confident in that position. But does that mean that in the next 6 months or even a year that I would want to wager that I'm going to see a positive number or positive appreciation over that kind of short to medium term? No, I do not want to make that call. I don't want to make that guess. I have no significant confidence. Maybe I have some confidence that that's possible. It depends on what land and the cards soak, and what happens there, and how many people are actually investing their cards into those lands, and then what does that do to DEC, and does DEC reach peg, and then does that start burning SPS? There's a whole conversation that could unfold in the next 6 months to a year that would translate to a bull market for our game. And then there's a whole other, we could see a bull market in cryptocurrency in the near future. You could see printing from the US Federal Reserve, and because they've broke the economy in so many respects, and that translates to then easy money and people speculating on the equities markets, but also things like cryptocurrency, which could cause a bull market in Splinterlands. So I have reasons and thoughts around how we could lead into a really exciting period. But here's the thing, you don't know what that looks like. You don't know how to measure that for yourself. within the Splinterlands ecosystem if you aren't tracking your data. So get in there. And I'm realizing this now for the first time. As I read that comment from that commenter, I think to myself, yeah, I know, I kind of generally know that the prices have gone down, up, and now down again a little. But what does that mean? I don't want a blanket number, $53,280 for my entire set. Okay, great. I need more than that. And so today I posted on Twitter something that I think you guys should be looking at, like for your own sake. You know, maybe you don't put it on Twitter. Maybe you go more anonymous. You just keep it on a Word Excel spreadsheet. But I'm doing it here to try and provoke and prompt thoughtfulness in our community. I think it's going to be really helpful to analyze this sort of stuff. Like maybe once a week I go through and I look at what my alphas, my betas, promo, reward, untamed, dicent, chaos, or worth. And when I do it, I document it here in a way that allows myself, but the broader community that follow me to really see what's happening. Because I've seen the Riftwatcher card, the reward cards go from I think 8 or 7, it might even have been 5, up to 15,000, and now recently down to 14. That's the one I've tracked the most closely. But as you can see, you know, there's a lot more data there. So how are the alphas and betas going? People have said there's not nearly enough of them. People are saying that land's going to really use them up, but then others are saying there's really no usefulness because there's new cards that are great and I don't need the old ones. Who's right? What is the free market telling us about who's right? You can track the data for yourself and learn more about that, so do so. Now let's unpack a little bit more about that comment, because I think he's onto something. I think he's actually correct that we need to be concerned about this concern. The idea that now that proposal passed, it looks like anti-bot measures are going to be happening in Modern. I think he's right that ultimately the community has called for that to extend into Wild. And if that does happen, ultimately you're seeing, I don't believe, first of all, that will ban all the bots. He seems to be accepting or presuming that means all bots will disappear. I don't really believe that. There's going to be a whole nuanced conversation that I'm not going to have here that we would need to unpack as to the effectiveness of this approach to even ban bots. I'm not yet convinced that we will be effective in our aims, but let's assume he's right and Modern becomes a total, there's no more bots there. Doubt it, but let's assume. And then let's assume that people like what they're seeing and there isn't mass, because part of what people are going to want to watch now is the price of their cards. So this is part of what they're going to look at when they're saying, hey, should we extend this into Wild? They're going to look at things like, what happened to my portfolio after we'd made that change? What happened to the wait times after we made that change? Did the bots actually get resolved? Was there any other unintended consequences that we didn't expect? So I think he's reaching when he says this is going to eliminate all bots in the Modern League. And then he's reaching and saying that necessarily everyone will love what they see and want it to happen in Wild. I think those are two presumptions that I don't feel confident in. And so I want to say, if you put those aside for a moment, I think we have more of a long-term Wild probably stays bot agnostic for the medium to long term. Probably. That's my guess, I'm thinking. Now, again, not advocating for that, not saying that's good. I'm just saying that I think practically speaking, that's probably what this looks like. And so then what would the Modern League alone do from if we just push all the bots out of there? How would that impact card prices? Well, it certainly could. He's right. There's a ton of, if we assume that out of the 200,000 accounts, last I checked, let's have a peek really. Let's go over here, explore. Daily average accounts, 72,000, 55,000. Wow. Have the bots already left? That's the real question. I haven't looked at this in a few weeks, and these were 150 to 200,000 daily average players, and this goes back all the way down to April 6th, and we are currently May 5th. So it's a full month of data. And so I'm saying that there's a dramatic drop off in the number of daily average accounts already. So, and I used to think at 200,000 daily active accounts, we probably had 40,000 real players. And that doesn't mean 40,000 accounts. It might mean 60,000 accounts. It might mean we have 20,000 real players and 50,000 accounts. It was in that range in my mind. And so now as I look at this and I see 55, 60,000, you know, at a high over here, 126,000 for one day, you know, I really feel like most of the, it has to be the case that most of the bots are no longer active because of the number of different things we've implemented recently. It has to be the case because there was 400,000 accounts at one point. There was 200 for the longest time. This to me is indicative of the pressures and the plans that the team is already implementing and had been for a while. You tell me in the comments if you think I'm missing some element, but it seems to me, one, most of the bots have already gone. Two, there's probably, if we've got some of these got to be bots still, have to be. And I don't mean, I'm not now talking about XBot or Archmage for your one account. I don't even really consider that because I don't care if you have one account and you use one of those services. What I'm saying when I talk about bots in this context, I mean people who are solely botting their farms. There's hundreds or dozens or, you know, thousands maybe. There's got to, I bet there's a proportion of this 55,000 that would fall into the bot farm category. Are we at the 20 to 40,000 human players with, you know, 20 to 30,000 bot accounts left? Maybe. So if that's right, we're talking half of the accounts out there maybe that are still playing that might want to liquidate assets. If he's right about the conclusions he's making, yeah, maybe, but I'm not sure he is. So think it through. If he's right about the modern just being absolutely just no longer allowing any bots, okay, then those accounts can just play in wild. So that's the first thing. They can just play in wild. But then the second thing is, I'm not convinced, like I said, we're truly gonna be able to identify and stop them. And then thirdly, if we move into wild and we start to target how we're going to change that with anti-bot measures, okay, now we start to really push this conversation and we get to a place where maybe he's right. And we got to be cognizant of the fact that these prices could tick significantly lower if there's that real, absolute, true silver bullet that ends the bots. The question to me ends up being, do you think that we truly are going to find and we're going to be able to create the silver bullet that ends the bots in modern first, but ultimately in both of the leagues? I'm not convinced that there's an appetite or a technical expertise with which to do that. And therefore, I don't really seriously fear the idea that the cards will, quote, go to zero, because I don't truly believe, one, that all of the accounts, I think a significant amount of them might be bots, but I don't think they have a substantial amount of the assets other than reward cards. So then the implication ends up being probably reward card the primary focus being a reward card prices continuing to take down. That to me, again, is a short to medium term conversation and concern, but from the long term horizon, which I'm always focused on with anything, with every investment, but definitely with Splinterlands, is not a concern, but an opportunity. And so if some of the best cards in the game, like the Jin O'Shanases and the, you know, even recently the, what's the name? I always forget them. Let's look at the legendaries from the reward pool. Like, look at some of these cards, man. Dollar, if they go into the 50-cent range, they go into 20-cent range, something crazy, because let's just say more than half of our accounts are liquidating these amazing cards. I would buy them. And it would suck from my account perspective because a lot of the cards I already own, I own hundreds or dozens of these BCX, and so do you. But from the long-term perspective, if this game is fun and it has a future, that's not a problem, it's an opportunity. And so I can just, in summary, I think this is worth tracking. I think you should track your own card value data. I think that'll help you be informed when we move into more of a bear market or in the future through into a bull market. But then the concerns being raised here are really extreme, in my opinion, based on a presumption or several presumptions that I'm not sure are fully thought out. And so I really appreciate, come on, 777. I am going to add him to the list of people who are going to have an opportunity to win that free plot of land. But I just don't share the immediate or even medium term kind of red flag, because I don't really think the anti-bot measures are going to be as effective as he's being suggesting. Plus, there's no acknowledgement of the other fundamental considerations that are being brought to the game, such as land, which we just talked about for a few minutes at the beginning. We talked about DEC and what could happen there, SPS and the burning that could happen there. There's just a lot of big things, the bull market in the general cryptocurrency market, and what might that do for Splinterlands. There's fundamental considerations that he hasn't raised that I think are bigger, or at least as big. And so while this is noteworthy and worth talking about, and I hope you're taking it seriously, by no means would this make me panic. In fact, I see it as a potential for an opportunity, and it probably is going to be limited or primarily focused around those reward cards, right? Because it's not going to be the alphas and betas that are going to see bots dumping them. They don't even own them. Right. So that's another element of it. But just thank you so much to the commenter. Thank you so much, guys, for your time and attention. When you leave comments and they turn into videos, again, I will give you sort of a raffle ticket that might allow you to win a plot of land. So thank you very much, guys. Have an amazing day. God bless.